10 years ago, my best friend stole the girl I'd loved for years. Tonight, at our college reunion, everyone looked at my hoodie and track pants and assumed I was still the same broke loser they'd laughed at back then. I let them believe it. Back in college, Sophia wasn't just another girl to me. From the first semester, she was the person I looked forward to seeing every morning. The problem was that I never had the courage to tell her how I felt. Every time I tried, I convinced myself there would be a better moment tomorrow. The only person who knew about my feelings was Marcus. He was my best friend. We studied together, ate together, and talked about everything. I trusted him enough to tell him that I was planning to ask Sophia out before graduation. Looking back, that was probably my first mistake, because only a week later, Marcus started spending a lot of time around Sophia. At first, I ignored it. They were both my friends. I had no reason to be suspicious. Then one afternoon, I turned a corner near the student center and saw them holding hands. For a second, I honestly thought I was looking at strangers. My brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing, but there they were, together. I remember staring at them, waiting for Marcus to explain, waiting for him to tell me there had been some kind of misunderstanding. Instead, he smiled and put his arm around Sophia. Then he told me they had started dating 2 weeks earlier. 2 weeks, the same 2 weeks I'd been telling him how much I liked her. When I reminded him that he knew how I felt about her, Marcus shrugged. He actually laughed. Then he said something I'll never forget. "You waited too long, Ethan. If you wanted her, you should have done something about it." The worst part was that Sophia didn't say a word. By the next week, everyone seemed to know about it. The story spread across campus faster than I thought possible. Somehow, I became the joke. Not Marcus. Not the guy who betrayed his best friend. Me. The guy who wasn't good enough to keep the girl he never even had. Every lunch break felt the same. Marcus and Sophia would sit together surrounded by friends while I sat alone. Sometimes I'd hear people laughing. Sometimes I'd catch my name in their conversations. Maybe they weren't talking about me, but after a while, it didn't matter. It felt like the whole campus was laughing anyway. Eventually, I stopped trying to explain myself. I stopped trying to fit in. While everyone else was focused on parties, relationships, and popularity, I buried myself in work. I told myself something simple. One day, the opinions of these people wouldn't matter anymore. Before graduation, I saw Marcus and Sophia one last time. They looked happy. Their friends surrounded them. Cameras flashed. Everyone talked about how perfect they were together. Nobody noticed me leaving. And honestly, I preferred it that way. 2 days after graduation, I packed everything I owned into 2 bags and left. No goodbye parties, no dramatic speeches, no promises to stay in touch. I simply disappeared from their lives. 10 years passed. During that time, I learned something important. Success is easier to achieve when you're not wasting energy proving people wrong. So I stopped thinking about Marcus. I stopped thinking about Sophia, and I focused entirely on building my future. The funny thing about life is that it keeps moving whether you're ready or not. The years went by. Opportunities came and went. Businesses grew. Partnerships formed. Eventually, the dreams people used to laugh at became reality. Then one evening, a message arrived. It was an invitation to our 10-year reunion. At first, I almost deleted it. But after staring at it for a few minutes, I realized something. I wasn't afraid of seeing them anymore. Not even a little. Marcus arrived like a celebrity. The second he walked through the doors, people rushed over to shake his hand. Sophia wasn't far behind. Everywhere they went, old classmates smiled, laughed, and treated them like they were royalty. Looking at them, you'd think they had won at life. As the night went on, people started comparing careers, salaries, and achievements. Some were doctors, some were lawyers, some owned businesses. Then somebody asked a question that made me smile later when I thought about it. Has anyone heard from Ethan? Nobody knew where I was. One person guessed I was working a dead-end job. Another said I probably moved back in with my parents. Then Marcus laughed and said, "Honestly, Ethan always dreamed too big. Guys like him usually end up disappointed." The table erupted with laughter. Almost as if the universe had perfect timing, I walked through the door seconds later. The room didn't go silent. It got awkward. People looked me up and down. Their eyes stopped on the hoodie, then the track pants, then the running shoes, and I could practically hear the conclusions forming in their heads. Within minutes, the comments started. "Wow, Ethan, rough day," one classmate joked. Another looked at my clothes and asked if I'd come straight from a workout. A third laughed and said, "Don't tell me this is what success looks like these days." I smiled politely and said nothing. The truth didn't need defending. Not yet. Marcus walked over with the same confident grin he used to wear in college. He looked me up and down before saying, "Ethan, it's been a long time." Before I could answer, he glanced at my clothes and chuckled. "Looks like life's been challenging." A few people laughed. Sophia folded her arms and added, "At least you made it. That's what matters." The way she smiled made it obvious she didn't mean it as a compliment. Marcus wasn't finished. He patted my shoulder and said loudly, "If you're ever looking for work, send me your sum. My company always needs reliable people." More laughter echoed around us. Someone even muttered, "He's trying to save him." I simply thanked Marcus for his generosity. That confused him more than if I'd argued back. Sophia looked at me for a moment before shaking her head. "You always had big dreams, Ethan," she said. "I guess life doesn't always work out the way we imagine." Another classmate laughed and asked if I'd at least driven to the reunion. Before I could answer, someone joked, "With those clothes? He probably took the bus." The group burst into laughter again. I just looked at my watch. She was running a little late. Just then, the ballroom doors opened. Every conversation stopped. A woman walked in with the quiet confidence of someone who didn't need to impress anyone. The venue manager hurried over to greet her, followed by several staff members. Around the room, people began whispering her name. "That's Lyra Ashford, the founder of Ashford Beauty." Even Sophia's eyes lit up. "I've always wanted to meet her," she whispered before walking toward her. Sophia stepped forward with her brightest smile, ready to introduce herself. But Lyra walked right past her, past Marcus, past everyone. She stopped in front of me, wrapped her arms around my neck, kissed my cheek, and smiled. "I'm so sorry I'm late, sweetheart." The board meeting ran over. The room fell completely silent. Marcus's smile disappeared. Sophia's face turned pale. Then someone whispered the words that changed the entire night. "Wait, Ethan is her husband?" For what felt like an entire minute, nobody spoke. Marcus stared at me as if he'd forgotten how to blink. Sophia slowly lowered the hand she'd been reaching out to shake Leora's. The classmates who had laughed at my clothes just moments earlier suddenly couldn't even look me in the eye. Finally, Marcus forced out a nervous laugh. "Wait, you're married?" I smiled. "Almost 6 years now." Sophia recovered first. She stepped toward Lyra with an overly friendly smile and introduced herself. "I've followed Ashford Beauty for years," she said. "Your products are incredible. I'd love the opportunity to work with your company someday." Lyra smiled politely, then looked at me. "Sweetheart," she asked, "is she one of your classmates?" I nodded once. That was all the answer she needed. Lyra turned back to Sophia. "I'm sorry," she said calmly, "but I don't mix business with people who've disrespected my husband." The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. They landed harder than any insult ever could. Sophia's smile vanished instantly. Marcus looked like he wanted the floor to open beneath him. Marcus finally looked at me and quietly asked, "Why didn't you tell us?" I couldn't help but smile. "Because you never asked how I was. You only looked at what I was wearing." I glanced around the room. 10 years ago, you all judged me because I wasn't popular. Tonight, you judged me because I wore a hoodie. Some people never really graduate. Not a single person laughed this time. Lyra squeezed my hand as we walked toward the exit. "Ready to go home?" she asked. I looked back one last time. The people who once laughed at me were now standing in complete silence. I realized something in that moment. Success isn't making the people who hurt you jealous. It's reaching a point where you no longer need their approval. Without another word, we walked out together and left the past exactly where it belonged. The debt has been paid. Another story has been sealed inside the Vindictive Archive. If today's tale reminded you that appearances can be deceiving, leave a like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, what was the biggest mistake Marcus and Sophia made that night? Until the next entry, the archive remains open.